Thank you both so much for making time for us today.
It's a pleasure.
Assemblymember Carl, I want to start with you. You had to buck your own party this year to get this new law passed that makes it easier for prosecutors to charge people who try to buy 16 and 17-year-olds for sex with a felony. Just how much of a dent do you see this new law now playing in child sex trafficking in the state?
Well, I think it's a really important law. I mean, first of all, like you said, any creep that tries to buy a 16 or 17-year-old for sex, that's a felony. There will be real consequences for that crime. And then also it criminalizes those that are loitering to purchase people for sex. And that really will help us crack down on the demand side of the sex trafficking industry.
Shayna, immigrants, undocumented people make up a big chunk of California's population. I wonder just what do you see, how do you see the intersection of undocumented people or documented people at this time and sex trafficking? What is the status of those two in the state?
Well, I would say that right now, given the amount of fear in communities and fear of actually seeking services and coming forward to help law enforcement, people feel more vulnerable, and I think a lot of the moves that have been made by the federal government have actually created more vulnerabilities, especially among unaccompanied children who arrive in the state and who are attending school and attending communities and end up, while going through their court cases, getting kind of a constant barrage of letters and offers and inducements to actually give up their cases, which is exactly the opposite of what we want to do to support kids who are the victims or the survivors of trafficking. Trafficking survivors need support. They need the kind of protection that will allow them to actually feel safe to come forward and cooperate with prosecutors in ensuring that people who are bad actors are brought to justice.
So have groups like yours seen direct cases, specific cases that are a result of children being more vulnerable because of the Trump administration's policies?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really culminated over Labor Day weekend. During a holiday weekend, middle of the night, we saw ICE actually deploy private contractors to shelters throughout Arizona and Texas. There were kids on the list also who were supposed to be picked up in California, but luckily, some federal litigators were able to stop the Trump administration from just shuffling kids onto planes in the middle of the night without them having gone through their court process. The message that sends to young people who have been educated about their rights and believe in that the rule of law matters here is that they ultimately don't matter, that their rights don't matter. And so as lawyers who are trying to defend children's rights and make sure that they understand the consequences of various actions and that they feel a sense of safety so that they can disclose things that are really important to their legal cases, we've seen kids start to really lack trust in the system.
Okay. Whether they're residents or immigrants or Californians or not, we do have two big events coming up, whether that's the Super Bowl or the World Cup games that are being hosted at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara. How do you see those events having an impact on sex trafficking in this state?
Well, I think it's really important to acknowledge just the damage that's being done by the Trump administration's immigration tactics here. The raids in neighborhoods, the separating children from their parents, those all make children more vulnerable to being trafficked. Some are being sent deliberately into harm's way. Some literally have escaped human trafficking and come here to escape their traffickers and are being sent right back. But here in the United States, these kids whose parents are being sent away, who are being separated separated, who are losing their stability and losing their real safety net, are real vulnerable to being trafficked. And so what we're going to see at these big events, like we always do, there will be a concentrated effort from law enforcement to make arrests, to really crack down on the demand side of trafficking. That's good, but what we need is a concerted effort 365 days a year, and we need a federal government that really understands the vulnerabilities of these kids, and that what it's doing is exacerbating that. I mean, look, I represented a 5-year-old boy and his mom who were torn apart. They were separated for more than a month before they even got a phone call. And when they finally talked, each caged 500 miles apart, the boy said, "Why didn't you call sooner?" And he just wanted to talk to his mom. That's all he wanted. I think about some of the cases that I prosecuted, and I can't tell you how many times I heard from teenage girls whose traffickers took their phones away, who couldn't contact their parents, and all they wanted to do was call their mom. So what we're doing here, this isn't going to make America great again. This isn't the right approach to a real problem that we have here.
So then that leads me to my next question. I mean, what should California lawmakers and the governor, in your eyes, this is for both of you, and Shana, I'll start with you. What do you think state leaders should do about this whole issue and these outstanding concerns?
So we've seen California step up in really important ways. Recently, the governor and the legislature signed into law a legal access bill that is supposed to guarantee access even if federal cuts end up demolishing the legal aid safety net that children depend upon. And we've also seen real investment in children's legal holistic representation, which we think is so important to link up both lawyers and social workers with these children to really create like a team of adults around kids who are trusted and stable, who can help them to navigate both their new situation in California, but also the legal process that they're going through. So I would say the legislature really stepping up and continuing to fund those programs is super important. And then, we really also need to be thinking about kids who are newly separated, kids who are, whose parents have been picked up in raids, whether those kids are citizens or immigrants. They are made more vulnerable to bad actors when they get separated from the only family who knows them.
Are groups like yours seeing a lot of children being separated from their parents?
Yeah, unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of new family separations, and it's really puzzling sometimes because you'll see a kid left alone, like basically coming home to no parents and not knowing what happens. We've also seen whole families picked up and then be separated in separate detention centers, which is odd because they have a family detention center in Texas that is not at capacity. And every single one of these family separations causes undue trauma to children. And I think one thing that we all agree on as Americans is that children should be protected and that children deserve a right to thrive. And so I really hope that in this new year, California can continue to be a leader in the space of keeping kids safe.
Assemblymember Krell, you've been on the forefront of trying to protect children. I mean, first as a prosecutor at the Department of Justice and now here in the State Assembly. The talk of funding, I know the state might be strapped for cash, but what ideas do you have or anything you're thinking of?
Yeah, I definitely plan to continue the work I've been doing, both to crack down on sex traffickers and also to help victims and support vulnerable kids. I have a couple of ideas for bills that I want to introduce in the coming weeks around human trafficking prevention, but I also think it's really important, what Shana was saying, to make sure that we're really coordinating well as a state with our child welfare department and our nonprofit partners to make sure that kids are protected as much as possible here in California.
All right. Assemblymember Krell, Shana Amber, we really, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.